Hi, my name is Zoe Collette.
I'm Dejanay.
My name is Leah Brown, and we are YLAG working in the community in hopes to make a difference.
And we're here with Kiana Daniels, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself.
Yes. Well, hi, ladies. Thanks for having me this evening. My name is Kiana Daniels. I'm the president and CEO of KMD Empowerment Consulting. And what I do with my business is I work with individuals and organizations in the entrepreneurship and innovation industry. And I focus on strategic planning, strategic partnerships, and building ecosystems to identify ways to connect in the community and to resources. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. So I know today you're here to present Rock Your Brand. Could you tell us exactly what that is and where it all started?
Sure, yes. Rock Your Brand is a conference. It started off as a youth conference at Thurgood Marshall. When I was a senior in college at Miami University, one of my former teachers reached out to me and some other classmates from high school to come speak to the young ladies in Thurgood Marshall about reputation. So once we got together and started brainstorming and generating ideas, the name Rock Your Brand came up after I read an article by Richard Branson on the brand of you, and we started to discuss how branding and reputation was similar and why it was so important to start in high school. And so we named the conference Rock Your Brand, and so it started off for just the girls of Thurgood Marshall the first year in 2011. In 2012, the boys, said they wanted to be a part of it, so the conference was co-ed, and then again in 2013, and then they ended it. And so I had moved to St. Louis in 2013 to get my master's in social work at WashU. And while there, I always wanted to bring Rock Your Brand to St. Louis for the youth there. And so once I got connected to the right people who worked in schools and in youth organizations, we got together. In St. Louis being a town that is known for entrepreneurship, we wanted to emphasize entrepreneurship in Rocking Your Brand. And so we did our first conference in 2017 where it was just for youth. And then this year we had our second annual conference and we added an adult track, and both years were very successful. So now we have a Rock Your Brand. Well, we had a Rock Your Brand Dayton, and we have Rock Your Brand St. Louis, and I am trying to bring Rock Your Brand Dayton back. So that's where it originated.
All right. I know you talked a little bit about personal branding, so can you kind of define what that is?
Sure. Personal branding is really, it is a little bit different from professional branding. Personal branding is really more so about your likes and your passions and your purpose. So it's what makes you happy, and it's what you're drawn to in terms of projects and in terms of interests and in terms of what makes you happy. So when you find yourself doing projects, if you feel that you get a real sense of joy and accomplishment in doing a particular activity, that's how you know that that's something that you're supposed to follow. And as you start to follow it, your personal brand begins to develop. And so that's basically what personal branding is. It's based off of what you like and what you genuinely like, and it speaks to your authentic self once you really start to understand who your authentic self is.
So around what time should you start branding yourself?
I would say high school is where it really counts. Freshman year, you're getting used to high school. You're still growing and developing, and you're growing into more of a young adult. And so I would say freshman year is not so pivotal, but definitely sophomore year as you're starting to think about college, if that's your route. Nowadays college is not for everyone, and that's perfectly okay, but knowing what it is that you're called to do is important. It's a part of your brand. So I would say sophomore year of high school is when everybody should start thinking about their personal brand and about branding in general professionally, and like what you're doing and why it matters for your future and your tomorrows, because of course we all know and probably have experienced the decisions that we make have consequences tomorrow and years to come. At least I can speak on that on my own behalf, but it's really important in high school. Do you guys think that it's important?
I definitely do. Like getting ready to apply for colleges, and sometimes they'll ask you for like your Twitter handle or like your Instagram page. So I think it's important to really keep yourself away from a lot of the messy stuff, away from like putting cuss words and promoting like bad stuff on your Instagram and social media pages. I definitely think it's important now more than anything.
Yeah, and like we also talked about a digital tattoo in a previous session that we had. So like everything that you post on social media stays out there forever. So if you did post something negative, like it's always gonna, be like on your shoulder. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when all that being said, I know you talked about being yourself and your authentic self, So how do you balance being who you are and building a personal brand and not caring what other people think, but yet still having a good impression on people?
That's a good question. So for me personally, and what I speak to people about and what our conference Rock Your Brand is about is really tapping into, first and foremost, who are you? Who am I? What do I like? What drives me? What are my passions and purpose? And so once you identify that and you go through the work and the exercises that takes to identify what it is, like your it, I guess, if you will, you have to be true to that, because that's really who you are authentically, and your authentic self deserves to be present when you show up. And so that doesn't always resonate with other people, and you have to be okay with it. So the difference in being who you are and not caring about what other people think is like your personal brand is going to be who you are and how you show up, but like your first impression or any impression that you have on people is important, because you should care how you make people feel, because I don't think it's any of our intent to make people feel bad or sad or hurt or anything like that. However, in today's society with social media, and where a lot of your generation cares a lot about what people think of them, and they allow that to dictate who they are and who they authentically show up as. They show up as someone other than who they are, which is not true to themselves, and it ultimately makes them depressed. And it makes them, they're living a double life, and nobody wants to do that because that's a lot of work. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, I was going to give a really bad example here. Hey, we're talking like in our living room. So it's kind of like a person who's in a relationship and has a wife and a girlfriend. You know what I mean? That becomes a lot of work, and you don't want to do that because it hurts people. So like being true to who you are, what makes you happy, is really important. But don't let people drive who you are and to make your decisions for you. So that's really the difference. Be who you are, but make sure when people interact with you, have a good experience with you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So yeah, and it's really important, and I think that real joy comes from being who you are, like, showing up as you are. And if you don't feel comfortable being who you are in certain situations, don't go. And that's perfectly okay. But I think we all have to get to a certain place of acceptance, knowing that we are not for everybody. We are not for every job. Not every opportunity is for us. And that takes a lot of growth. That takes a lot of, evolution. And it's a part of life. You know what I mean? And you guys probably won't feel comfortable saying no to certain opportunities at this point, because, everyone says, take opportunities, take all of them. And I, at 30, will say, no, every opportunity is not for you, and you know that once you know who you are. So there's opportunities that are thrown at me all the time, daily. Business opportunities, everything. People want me to be on their teams, and I feel like if I don't really connect with the person, we can't work together. And I'm perfectly okay and comfortable with saying no to that opportunity, because I personally believe, and this is not everyone, but when it comes to personal brand and my own personal brand, I only want to work with people who align with my personal and professional brand, which mine are one and the same. Some people's personal brand is very different than a professional brand, but I'm just like one person because it's easier, it's less work, and to me it's working smart, not hard. So yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, but so in this day and age, do you think it's harder to be yourself, your authentic self, and have your own personal brand? Because I know for me, today, people want to look the way they're supposed to look, act the way they're supposed to act on social media and like the mainstream of what people see. And it gets hard to be yourself and try to also appease others and be that. So,
So when you say mainstream, do you mean like the style of clothes? Do you the way in which you talk?
And just the way people think. 'Cause a lot of people, it's like this generation is taught to think that be better than everybody else and don't like help anybody else along the way. Just like focus on you, and that's all you have to focus on. Like you don't have to worry about anybody else. And I feel like it shouldn't be like that. Everybody should be able to help everybody else, and everybody should include everybody else in what they do, and everybody deserves the same respect. But a lot of people put themselves on this pedestal, and there's a certain group of people who think they're just better than everybody else and are on this pedestal. And so it's just hard to be yourself and like feel accepted, just that, because sometimes it's isolating trying to be yourself. So
Well, yeah, so I think that's a good point. Well, first and foremost, what I've told my students who are college age students is that nobody is an island. You know, you cannot do anything by yourself. You need help. We all need help along our journey, you know, because we don't have all the connections. We don't have all the answers. And if we're a certain age, we don't know what goes before us because we don't know what we don't know. And it's good for us to have mentors and people who can help us along the way and who are exposed in different areas of life. So if that be it for you guys are still in high school. So if that's college, you don't know what college is like. You don't know how to navigate that system. So it's really important for you guys to connect with college students or, you know, a faculty member in college who can help you navigate that, and vice versa. You guys are in high school, and if you want to, you know, pay it forward to the students who are younger than you all, it's really important for us to do that. We have to help each other in order for us to get ahead in life, you know, and for everybody to win, essentially, because I feel like if everyone is working by themselves and, you know, they're promoting this, you know, I did it by myself, I'm a self-made this and that, that's totally false, and it does isolate people, and it makes people, you know, ultimately lose, because when we work together, like collective impact and collaboration, for me personally, what I believe is that we all win when we work together. So, you know, that you know, persona that's promoted on social media, if that doesn't speak to who you are, I would steer clear of that. And then find pockets of people or groups or tribes who speak to who you are, because that's going to be really important as you get older too. Like for me, I'm super grateful for my transition to St. Louis, because what I found in St. Louis was these tribes of women. And I have different groups of friends, like many, like I know most people say you can count your really closest friends like on one hand, but I really can count my closest friends on more than 10 hands, because I'm just that type of person, and I attract what I am, which I'm so grateful for, because I didn't used to. But I'm also very self-aware and okay with saying no to this and that, and I only want to be in the presence of people who make me better and who pour into me. And also what's really important, which I think as you get older, is finding relationships of all kind that are reciprocal. So if it's always one-handed or one-sided and you're the one that's always constantly pouring into people, helping people and all of that, or vice versa, if you're the one that's always got your hand out or whatever, that's not a really mutually beneficial situation. And the way that I like to go about life is I like to be in mutually beneficial situations, whether it's business, personal, or family, you know what I mean? Because I want us both to win. I want us both to get things out of the situation. And so that's a part of my personal brand, and anybody who you speak to will talk to you or let you know that about me, is that, you know, I make sure that anytime I go into a situation that we are both going to benefit from the interaction. And I think that, you know, it's really important at this age, especially to start, you know, finding those tribes of young girls or even older women, you know, who speak to who you really are, because it's really a lot of work to be anything that you're not, for real. It really is. So it's a lot of work. It's exhausting, and it's not fun. It doesn't bring real joy and happiness. So, what do you guys think about that? How do you combat it?
I mean, for me personally, I know like what I want to do with my life. I've sat down and like planned out what I want to do and the people I need to surround myself with to get those things done. I'm a very like goal-oriented, like that type of person. So for me, it was just finding what I wanted to focus on and working towards that. But I feel like sometimes that can be hard because younger people especially are so easily influenced. And like speaking on what Dejanay said when she was talking about how people feel like they have to do things by themselves because that's what's promoted, especially in music. A lot of rappers say like, oh, I made it out the mud, I came from nothing, and blah, 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 like I did this by myself. So a lot of people feel like in order to accomplish something, in order to feel like self-validated, they have to do it by themselves, like they can't get any help. So I feel like that is probably one big problem. People want to be all by themselves to say like, oh, I made it by myself, but that's never how it really works. So.
Absolutely not, because somebody had to sign that rapper, right? Okay, because he couldn't do it by himself because he didn't have that connection. So I think we really know, and if we go beyond the surface, a lot of times, which a lot of young people don't do, if we go beyond the surface to see what something really is, we could always see, what's behind what it actually take or what somebody is actually saying or promoting. And also, I know we're in this generation of followership and all of that, but like, that's not really cool. Like it's good to be leaders, I mean, it's okay to, because there's a such thing as, fitting in with a certain culture. But if that culture, again, doesn't speak to who you are and you have to do so much to change who you are to fit that culture, that culture is not for you. And it's okay not to fit because there's going to be a culture somewhere else that does fit you. And if it's not, guess what? Create it.
Yeah.
It's really pretty simple, but I think young people have to be okay with, first of all, when you are trying to aspire to be something really great, a lot of times that is the road less traveled, and so it's going to be isolating, it's going to be lonely, it's going to be hard, and all of those things. However, like young people have to get to a point of being okay with that, and sometimes you will be alone. It's totally okay, because in your alone time is where you really start to grow and be able to reflect and be able to think about like, who am I? What do I really like? What do I want to be? Like, how do I want to like chart this path? You know what I mean? And so your friends don't have to be a part of that, but you just got to be okay with it. And that takes some getting uncomfortable because that's not the norm. But that comes with growth and age,
Yeah. As of this year, I kind of found myself doing that. Not necessarily like isolating myself, but just trying to keep positive energy and positive vibes around me. Like Dejanay's my best friend, and she's like one of the main people that I go to for advice whenever I'm just feeling down or like feeling like unethical, because sometimes I react out of emotion and like that's not okay. So like I really feel what you're saying when you talk about like taking that different path and associating with people that help your personal brand.
And that make you be a better person, that challenge you to be a better person. I will challenge all of you. If you don't have friends or people in your life that do that, you don't have to drop them totally, but deal with them from a distance and get with some people who do, because like at the end of the day, we all want to be our best selves. Like, we all want to operate that way. We all want to see our friends operate that way, because when we all are our best selves, we all are happy. Like nobody really wants to be around someone who, and this is not to be insensitive, but like who's like, negative all the time and who's like kind of like down on themselves all the time, that they get into depressive state and they can't see anything positive or be optimistic about the future or whatever, and sometimes we have to be that friend to help that friend out of the mud. But like, it takes somebody on the team to be positive and to be thinking differently, because if that's the norm, which I think that's a lot of like our society today, is very negative, very pessimistic, very like
judgmental.
Dark, judgmental, all of those things. It takes somebody who's going to be different than the norm to start to change that narrative. And so that's really good that you guys have that relationship. I commend you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I totally agree with the friend thing you said, because earlier in my high school career, I had like friends I was running around with, acting crazy. I stayed in the principal's office, and it just took, over the years, I started to humble myself and realize that yes, I want to be with them, and yes, that's what I wanted to do. But now, like, they're not what I want to be. Like, I'm not like them. And I had to realize that I'm really not like them. And I had to humble myself and realize who my real friends were, like Zoe said, and it's just nice to not have to fake the funk anymore.
Yes, right? Isn't it? Don't you feel a lot freer?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So at what point did you start to notice things about yourself, about who you really were, and that it wasn't really meshing for you? Because you're a senior now, right? Okay.
Well, for me personally, I just didn't want to be associated with them, like in their actions, because they're very like materialistic. They don't think before they speak. I like to call them surface thinkers. Like they can't like think deep in anything. Like what happens just happens. They don't really care about what anybody thinks. Well, they care about what people think, but like not more so like their feelings. They don't care about their feelings, and I didn't want to be associated with that because that's not who I am.
And even being a senior now, like entering that next stage in our life, like we're not supposed to surround ourselves with people that are stagnant. So I think that's what we're all trying to do, because like going into college, this determines like the rest of your life. So like us still associating with negative people and just like being in the principal office or just being in trouble and just in like negative places, like it doesn't benefit us and like our personal brand.
I think it's definitely very important to surround yourself with people that have the same plans as you. Like if you want to get out of Ohio, surround yourself with people that are planning to apply for scholarships and apply for schools out of state. But if you want to stay here, that's fine. But that's not where I want to be. So I'm not really going to surround myself with you because we're not like-minded. Not even to shade them or anything, but it's just like we have two different paths, different plans.
Right.
So it's just like you got to keep yourself with the people that are going to be with you still.
Yeah, that's very true, very good analysis and things like that. And so that helps your personal brand. That helps your brand, your reputation, and everything. You know what? I had a friend once in high school that we had similar personalities, but our decision making was totally different at two ends of the spectrum. And I found out close to graduation that I don't know, I think maybe it was post high school, because we were best friends in college as well. And so, however, I ended up finding out that like her decision making, the way that she was living her life, I was guilty by association because we were friends. You know what I mean? And I was nothing like it. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh no. No. That is not who I am, and I don't want anybody to think that is the way I am because they see us together all the time. Exactly. You know what I mean? And so the older you get, you have to make certain decisions that are not really easy. Like, and you and your friends do go different paths. Even if you guys are like-minded, y'all choose different paths because, from a spiritual perspective, God, everybody has a journey. Everybody has a purpose, and it's not always going to be the same as your friends and things like that. So, like, learning how to, manage relationships with your friends and your family members and things like that as you continue to learn who you are as you evolve throughout life is like really important. And it's difficult. It's very difficult to because there are going to be some relationships that you have to give up, and and it's okay because that's life, and like when people, you go back home after you guys go off to college and things like that, you're going to come around some people who are going to say things like you changed. Like, well, of course I did. Isn't that, what happens in life? We age, and that's change. So as we age and develop, that is what life is about. So if we're the same, then we know that there's something wrong. And so be prepared for that statement because it's going to happen. It happens a lot throughout life, but don't let it deter you either. Because a lot of times when we're young, we can internalize that as something that's negative, and it's not. Change is good. Change is good. Evolution is good. Transformation is good, as long as you're becoming your better self and like who you really were put on earth to be. Like, that's really what it's about. So do you guys have any other questions for me before we wrap things up?
I don't think I do. I think you hit the mark.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys, for you ladies. Have you guys started to do the work for understanding what your personal brand is? Or do you think that you've gone through certain situations and transformations in life to help you figure out like what you want your personal brand to be as you go forward?
I think I'm still trying to figure out where I want it to be. I think I'm still learning.
I think so too. I know like a basis for like what I want to do career-wise, but like becoming like a specific person and like all that stuff, whether I'm like religious or not, like I'm not so sure on that.
I know as far as personality, I want to work on being a more prepared person. I procrastinate a lot, so sometimes I feel really overwhelmed, and I know that it's my fault that I feel overwhelmed because I didn't properly prepare myself. So as I get older, that's even now, working on it now, I want to become a more prepared person, a more like I'm ready for this type person, rather than waiting till the last minute and then scrambling around and feeling stressed, because that's self-induced. Like those are things I could easily avoid. So I know it'll make my life a lot easier in the long run if I start practicing those things now to prepare myself for later.
Yeah, that's really a good point. Because that will become a part of your personal and professional brand. You know, if you're constantly late on things, you know, people will know that about you, and the more people you deal with, they're going to tell the next person, like, you know, she's late, just be prepared, you know, and that will like follow you, kind of like when you're a kid and your teachers tell the next teachers for each grade, like, yeah, he's a problem child, you know what I mean? So that's really good that you're thinking about that now, and that you want that to be a part of your brand, is that no, they can never say Leia is going to be late. She is on time, she is punctual, she is like on her stuff. That is who she is. I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Yes, I want to say thank you for coming and being with us and talking with us. Is there anything else you'd like to say, like any last remarks or like any contact information, anything like that?
Sure. Well, first I would like to say thank you for having me. I've had fun talking with you ladies about branding, and hopefully we'll continue to have conversations beyond the show. And if anyone wants to contact me, they can visit my website at www.kmdempowerment.com, and they can email me at Keanna, Keanna.Monique24@gmail.com. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was fun.
It was enlightening.
Yeah.